Are you doing your best?
It's about 9 in the morning. I woke up to hear the old boob tube in the other room that was joined to our room by a door. Everyone else was awake but me. I was surprised that Mikey was up because he could outsleep the dead and could sleep through a hurricane. But I guess he loves food more than sleep, especially food from Bohangles. I dragged myself out of bed and head over to the next door room and walk to the table with food on it. I sit down on the couch and watching some turtles that have some ninja powers. While I dig into breakfast and down the tea a bit quicker than I anticipated, we started talking about where we were going to go today. We had Charlestown landed on the list as well as Dock Street Theater. That should be enough for a day. And then tomorrow, if we have time, after we check out the hotel, we'll head out to the beach and maybe Hyman's again for some supper. As we go through the streets of town, we hit up 17 and then pick up 171 and take it into Charlestown Landing. Listen up! We're gonna get you oiled, boiled, and foiled before your beautiful self gets spoiled, baby. We're gonna rob Baba Disco our tails right onto this next tune. And remember to listen up to hear some words from the heart. Let's rock it. We ride the last few with the radio deep in our ears, and we were excited to see the first area in which Charleston was started. Pirates in the early days of Charleston and in Charlestown Landing basically built this town with trade and such. It is myth that a pirate came to this area from Madagascar and left rice with the locals. So with many things that have been done in and around Charleston was usually some sort of pirate dealings. The event of pirates being a part of this area have helped its economy. Some of the older families in Charleston were also from this wealth. So here we are in Charlestown Landing. We walk into this pristine place. Near the entrance is a small pond with the fountain surrounded by tall, blooming trees, with Spanish moss hanging from their limbs. On the left side of the trail that leads further in, there are about 4-foot wooden fences dividing to our destination. We head over to the area where the Native American ceremonial site is. We check out what we can there as we walk around the broad area. We didn't hear anything at the time, but we were always thinking we can catch something even if we can't hear it. We walk up and get in a long line of wilderness around us, and we make it to a statue of a Native American holding a staff. No doubt it was the Kiowa natives of this area. They also helped the colonials survive this area. We walk on. Up ahead is a wooden plank-lined building that was a cooking shack, as well as living quarters. They have it set up as it used to be way back in the day. We walk inside, and to the far left, we see what seems to be a fire in a cooking area with a simple hearth on top. Above would have been hung different herbs. Over to the right lies a makeshift bar that is used for food prep, I'm guessing. On the opposite side of the building was a table with some seating. And I'm sure that there was minimal lighting here. There was a few candles and a couple of lanterns. As we walk around, I have the camcorder on, and I also have my EMF meter, and roam around the room asking questions. You never know what you might get. The others had already left the small building and had been calling out to me a couple times to hurry up. I quick walk my way to them and try to stay as steady as I can so I don't muck up the footage. I make it to the motley crew that we are, and they are walking around some cannons. Story has it that the cannons were given to the towners for protection against the Spanish by the pirates of the area. We went on further and made our way down to the water's edge, where a boat is set up showing how a boat was built. Then a bit away from the skeleton of a ship was a boat in the water. It was similar to the vessels of the time. Towards the southern area of the town, there is what's known as Tomb Island. We aren't about to head out there because we don't have all day. Plus, we got to get back and get some lunch, and then check out the Dock Street Theater. So as we keep moving on to where the African American cemetery is located, we keep the camera going and eyes peeled, and seems to be untouched by the modern age that we all live in now. While we are walking, I check the battery life and it's on its last LED notch, and I go ahead and swap it out, and back to the excitement. As we get right up to the edge of the cemetery, I start talking aloud. I'm just here to ask questions. Is there anyone here who wants to say something to us? Silence. Can we help you? Silence. Can you tell us where you are? There's a silence of the tree frogs that were just out a few minutes ago, and the birds that were filling the air with their sing-songs had just gone quiet. I pan around in 360, just in case there was a voice in a different area that had something to say. Silence. Come towards me if you want to talk. This thing I have in my hand should be able to hear you. Silence. Although warm as Hades and muggy as can be, it seems that it has gone to springtime weather. Is there anyone who wants to say something or even touch me? Nothing. Well, if you don't want to show us that you're here, we're going to keep moving. Sean swats at something near her shoulders as if it was a bug or something invading her space. Sweet. Can you do that again? I ask. This time, Vicky starts to freak out a little bit because she had a similar thing happen to her. Dude, y'all just go stand together, and I'll try to see if I can catch any video of it, I say. Okay, I say louder to any ghosts listening. Touch some of them, would you? I say, or rather ask. I'm looking through the viewfinder and can see Vicky's hair slightly raised in the air and fall back down again. Of course, Vicky didn't like that, and she was done with ghost hunting and wanted to go back. So we did. 'Cause hey, it's towards lunchtime and I feel a grumble in the tumble. Walking at a brisk pace with Mikey in the lead, we got back to the course again in no time. Cranked that Bearcats engine and rolled back to the city. After we head back into town, we strolled onto our hotel room to freshen up and grab some pimento sandwiches and chips. While Sean and Vicky were chilling out for a few, I threw the dead battery on to charge and changed the batteries in the EMF as well, and plus a few extra videotapes to record onto. After that, Mikey and I checked out the recent footage and had my headphone jack splitter, and we were both able to listen to the audio while we watched it on a 19-inch tube TV screen. As we watch and listen, we can hear a few sounds that we hadn't heard earlier. I rewinded a few times while I'm alone in the first building that was erected in the 1900s. But maybe some specter would gather here and try to communicate. Add to our skepticism, we can actually hear a voice and a word here and there. As I had panned around the building, there was a dark area that seemed to stay out of my frame. But I caught several seconds of the shadow hiding in the corners and would zoom in and zoom out of the way. The minutes went into about an hour, and we were interrupted by the girls, and they were wondering when we were going to leave. We stopped the tape and told them we were ready to be on our way. I changed the tape and battery to freshies. So after an hour of piddling and playing with our puds, we hit the streets again. Imagine, if you will, the streets along Market. For a fair piece, there are folks selling baskets and fruits and anything else that a market would have. It was mostly by the African American slaves. Today, there has been a preservation of this life of long ago. There are many who make and sell baskets and roses, and many variety of things that one can sell. And then around the streets there were Charleston eagles, known as vultures, and they would keep the streets clean. Walking these streets, it could be so reminiscent of the past 200 or 300 years ago. The hot and humid air with the scents of flower, and trees to urine, and even mud if it rained. We walked down the Dock Street Theater, and we got ready for the tour that I had set up the previous day. Dock Street Theater is currently placed on the area of Church and Queen Street. Not Queen as in the band, but I'm guessing from the Queen of England at the time. Even though Dock Street isn't on any kind of dock street, many a times Charleston would change the names of streets. But the original theater was behind the building that is now called the Dock Street Theater. The place we see now, converted from a hotel inn in the 1930s to the theater we glance at and enjoy theater to this day. One of the many famous actresses was Eliza Poe. That's right, Edgar Poe's mother. She was a well-known actress of the day. There were other well-known actors of the theater, and one of them had the last name of Booth. The famous actor of the name of Booth was said to have acted in the theater, and his drunken state eventually left him with the forever marks of an iron fire poker that was used on Mr. Booth while he was drunk and out of hand, as it were. He had a famous name, and unfortunately one of his sons killed Abraham Lincoln, John Wilkes Booth. Myths around this area was that the son of Abe Lincoln was at a train station and he saw a man who was thrown into the tracks because of the amount of people that were in the vicinity. Ed Booth was there to help, unknowing that the man he had helped was the descendant of President Lincoln. There's another presence in this building, the woman in a red dress. We walk up to the main entrance and we just see from the ironworks and how everything was put together, even though it was rebuilt from its original structure. But there were add-ons from the hotel to theater, as all renovations do. The tour guide walks through the front door moments later, and we walk up to him. And we have our introductions and proceed inside. We enter through the doors of the theater, and we look in awe of this place of entertainment. Nothing can take this moment away. We're standing in the place of where the earliest of entertainment went on, and on through many, many decades. We see the sea of row of wooden pews of chairs. And then there's the chairs that diminished in color, and that would have been stunning when it was back in its heyday. We look to the stage, and the off-white curtains that hang as if they were waiting to unveil a production to knock one's socks off. We start to wander around and go down from the front row and go down from row to row. I make my way out more than I should have because the tour guide had to bring me back to reality. As I walk back, kind of holding my head down, he starts up with a normal spiel. We hung on to every word, and we were really interested in the history of this place, even Mikey. The tour guide walked us down to the stairs and told us the story of this place. We finally make it to the stage, and as I go toward the center of the stage and pan my camcorder around, the tour guide gets a bit louder, as if he were telling me to rein it in and finish the tour. I get back in the group and continue to pan around slowly as he goes on. He talks of the woman in red, as well as the other performers of the stage had brought to life the plays of the time. And then we would talk of the said ghost that would roam the stage, as well as the halls and street, and halls as well as the seats of the dearly departed. It has been said that during practices of the theater that they were mostly empty and a performer would be seen on the second floor balcony. Remember the worth of pirates in this town? Well, they were said to have frequented the theater so much that they could do some piracy dealings. And they also had a tunnel that ran from the pirate's house to the Dock Street Theater. As the guide came to a close, I asked if we could spend a few more minutes just doing a smaller runaround of the interior. We were told that we have about 20 minutes, because of course they had more tours to give. We held it together as if we were going in for the final touchdown and make a play where Mikey goes to the second floor balcony, and Sean and Vicky stayed near the pit, and I go onto the stage. We go onto our positions. As we get close to where we need to be, the tour guide surprises us and turns the lights down a bit. "Thank you," I say, walking up the stage. The lights all fade quite a bit, and I have my camcorder recording, plus I turn on some of the extra infrared lights to help illuminate while I generate some questions to him. I go from center stage to each area and made darn sure I could see everything in the vicinity that I needed to, and not just some sporadic shots that don't amount to anything. Taking one's time is key in these tapings, so I pan up to where Mikey is and to keep a wide shot but close enough to see anything that may appear. I don't see anything right off, but my eyes seem to be playing tricks on me, because I can see with my eyes a figure moving right behind Mikey, and he is totally unaware. I continue to film and ask a few more questions about who they are and if I can help them. Of course, nothing is audible at the time. I zoom in a bit to see where the shadow form is, and even from the tiny black and white viewfinder, I can see movement. I keep it steady to the form as it slowly disappears. "Dang it," I say. We keep going for another 10 minutes, and the lights fade into the normal, as they were a while ago. Well, the investigation is over, but heck, that's enough for me. We gather towards the entrance of the theater, and the guide is waiting there to lead us all out. We thank him for his time, and I give him a 20 spot. So as we are talking amongst ourselves, we are excited because Vicky and Sean were in the center, and they could see the same shadows dart from one part of the stage from where I was actually filming. We were geeking out all over the things that we had just spent 5 minutes talking about, and we were wondering why we were still here, because we can get to Folly Beach right before the sun goes down. We walked to the car and cruised down the road with the windows down and a few tunes, keeping our energy up. We park it and head out to the beach for an hour or so, and we walk around the long, sandy beach. We can see surfers along our walk. We pass a real surfer that's waxing his board with some solid sex. It begins to sprinkle, and that's a sign that we gotta get ready to head back. So the sun is starting to set in an hour or so, and if this rain is coming our way, then we need to boldly ride out of here, and hoping that there isn't any rain tonight, because that ain't no fun at all. We get back to the room. I check out the weather on TV and listen to the weather station on the AM band. After a bit of checking and seeing that it's minimal drippage, we decided to go out for the night. But before we head out, we make sure we had an umbrella, because that would surely suck. We check out the rest of the footage while I charge up the other batteries. We're actually really glad that we looked at the footage, because the more we looked at it, the more we saw and heard. The most of what we saw and heard was the evidence at the African American cemetery. There were answers to the questions I had asked, and even more. I'm just here to ask a question. Is there anyone out there wanting to say something to us?
Yes.
We hear through the headphones. Can we help you? Silence. Can you tell us who you are? Or something similar, and a few other voices came through, and we could hear a Larry S. Howard or some other name like that, and might even be a Rhett Bartlett. I'm not sure. But as the video panned around, I could hear a whoosh of voices through the tiny speakers that covered my ears. Oh man, this is great, I say to Mikey. We continue to listen and watch. Come towards me if you want to talk. This thing I have in my hand should be able to hear you. And we heard another language that was talking over the other voices, so it was kind of hard to hear. Mikey stops the tape or rewinds it, and we watch it again in amazement, because we can't believe what we actually caught. Voices. And even answering our questions. We finished the rest of the video with more voices. And there were more voices of the Native American ceremony site. And I listened to it and could hear what I was questioning in the Kiowa language. We listened and we heard plenty. We decided to rewind the footage and come back to it after we get home. That way we can do a better review of the evidence that we have. And it seems that there is going to be plenty. We're going to get some rest and a bite to eat, and then make our way back out. And you are more than welcome to come with us. Ha 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 ha! Alive again and ready to send you some grooving tunes to keep you all awake. I didn't get enough sleep last night, baby, 'cause you know why. So I'm counting sheep right now and just waiting to be counting some sheep with you. So just close your eyes and dream some good thoughts we call memories. And just go to that higher power desire, 'cause everything's gonna be all right.